All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm so excited to be here. And we're going to talk about today tools for independence, really getting your child to complete chores, tasks, do a bunch of things on their own. And joining me tonight is Angela and Sarah. So we're excited to be here to support you and to support your kids. I'm the clinical director here in Los Angeles. I've been with MeBe for 5 years now. I've worked in the San Diego office and in the Seattle office before opening up our LA region here in my hometown.
Hi, everybody. I'm Angela Ochoa, the clinical director for occupational therapy. I've been with MeBe just over a year now. I'm super fortunate to join the MeBe family. When about a year ago I came in, we then started our occupational therapy wing of MeBe, and I'm just so grateful to be part of the family. Some background on me: I've been an occupational therapist in the San Diego area for the last 12 years. And then, as I said, just newest to the party is what I always like to say at MeBe. I'm really fortunate to be here because I get to work very closely with a lot of people, really exciting and interesting people. Most especially, I get to work with these two lovely ladies this evening and get some of their really wonderful ABA experience. And I also have a very close connection with our speech and language pathologists as well. So thank you all for joining us this evening. I'm looking forward to sharing what we have in store and also getting any questions that you might have.
And I'm Sarah. I'm the clinical director in the Bay Area. I've been at MeBe for a few years now, and I did my undergrad in San Diego, and then I just kind of stayed in the field. I've been in the ABA world for about 8 years now, and then I had the privilege of opening up the office in the Bay Area last March.
So I'm going to start by telling you guys a little bit about MeBe if you're not at all familiar. To start off, MeBe is about being me, hence the name MeBe. We strive both as working with ABA, occupational therapy, and speech and language pathology to provide research-based strategies with personal attention for your child and your family. As I stated previously, we provide ABA services, occupational therapy, and speech language pathology. We're very fortunate, as you can tell. We have clinic spaces and provide services in a variety of different markets. San Diego being our home base. We also have, as you've seen here with lovely Shelby and Sarah, we also provide services in Los Angeles, the Bay Area. We have a clinic in Seattle. We recently, as of last year, opened up 2 additional spaces in Denver and in Phoenix. And coming soon in March, we're going to be opening up in Austin, Texas. So we're really growth oriented in mind. Even though we might have these, long overarching goals to expand and grow into new spaces and places, we still have a very small, a scope in terms of making sure we're really personalized in our approach, and we really truly take you and your family into every consideration when it comes to providing a great treatment plan. If you don't already, please follow us on Instagram and Facebook at MeBe Family. You can also find us at mebefamily.com, and you feel free to give us a call if you have any questions regarding the information we're sharing this evening, as well as anything about the services that we provide and the areas that we provide them in.
All right, so let's get started on today's topic. Our goal for today is to look at some more complex adaptive skills that you might see in your ABA or occupational therapy program. As your child gets older, their responsibilities grow, and so does their need for independence within their daily living skills and their community environment. So what are these adaptive skills and ADLs? We're going to identify them from both an ABA and OT perspective. We're going to help you identify what are some expected skills at different age levels based on your child's strengths, your family's needs. And we're also going to give you some ideas and activities in different domains of what you can work on in the home and different ways you can get support from your supervisor if you're already in a program on how to practice. Okay. So like I said, we're going to address the topic from an ABA and an OT perspective. In the ABA world, we really want to seek independence for this child. We want to make sure that your kiddo is not dependent on you, your caregivers, their staff, their therapeutic environment. We want them to be able to do all of these things on their own as they grow up. So when we're teaching this independence, we look at how to break down a task and how to sequence it throughout the day, putting things first, next, then, and so forth.
This is why I love this, because it really does highlight exactly how OT and ABA work so well together. And exactly as Shelby said, today we're going to be giving both suggestions from ABA and OT, but you'll find that you might see some similarities. That's okay. We're working on similar skills. You're also going to hear a couple different things in terms of maybe the way that we term things. In ABA and OT, we do address these kind of in-home skills. For occupational therapy, we refer to them as activities of daily living or instrumental activities of daily living. Our focus in occupational therapy is, certainly we want to focus on independence, but we take it in a bit of a different approach from ABA in that we target developmental skills. So the skills that are required in that kind of developmental sequence in order to build on what your child should be doing. So we can't go from A, B, C, D until we've kind of mastered those first early skills. We tend to break down tasks. In occupational therapy, we refer to that as task analysis. And we're looking at, in those task analysis moments, what's really age appropriate or skill appropriate for your child. So you'll see how we really complement each other in this presentation, and then how hopefully the strategies we give you today will give you more well-rounded understanding and some expectations for what we think some of our older kiddos should be doing.
All right, so why are ADLs important? So they increase our child's ability to assimilate into the community and bring meaningful value into their daily lives. So we can do this in a variety of ways. Tonight, we're really going to focus on the in-home side of things. So you hear us talk about chores, making your bed, keeping the bathroom tidy, things like that. And then for self-help, hygiene, right? So brushing our hair, putting on deodorant, and then all of those skills can kind of build up to our more advanced ones in the community, such as money management or navigating the community and public transit. And the way we determine the appropriate ADLs to target at a certain time are we're going to base it on a couple of things. So we have basing it on age. So we're going to use your child's age and developmental level as a starting point. And then based on their skills. So what strengths does your child already have? And then identify skills that are already in their repertoire to be able to build on those. And then based on social significance, right? So this has to be important to you guys. If you're never going to have your child fold a towel, we're not going to work on this. It needs to be important to you so that it can make your life and your child's life more meaningful. So some of the prerequisite skills needed are going to be receptive language. So being able to follow directions, listening to a speaker, and then motor skills like imitation and motor planning. So if I want to be able to show my kid how to do a skill, they need to be able to imitate me. And then cognitive skills like sequencing, right? So we need to be able to follow a task in certain orders.
So we have a little bit of a breakdown of some of the expectations and different kind of ADL tasks or chores that are expected for kids based on their developmental age and stage. So you'll see from the between the age of 6 and 7, you'll notice that some of the things that we expect kiddos to do from an ADL or a personal perspective are things like make their own bed, brush their teeth, comb their hair. Extending to family chores, things like vacuuming, dusting, folding laundry, putting away dishes. The focus of at this stage of skills is really skill refinement and precision. So we're past the stage of introducing these skills to kiddos, and it's now the importance is how to hone in and become more precise in these skills. We know at this stage this is not fully independent, but the focus is to make sure that we're honing in and refining the skills that they currently have. It's building on what they already know up to this point. Between 8 and 11 years old, tasks become more complex. So things like keeping your bedroom clean, not just maybe putting away clothes in the laundry, being responsible for homework, being able to kind of self-initiate specific and important tasks, washing dishes, washing the car, maybe, putting laundry away completely. At this stage, we're really looking for initiating skill and the thoroughness of the skills. So not only completing the tasks, but looking to initiate them, knowing, oh, my bedroom is messy, it's time to clean it. Now, I know that between 8 and 11 years of age and even significantly older, those particular skills are challenging, but these are the goals that we have in mind. We want to start facilitating these particular skills, not just the skills themselves. And then finally, 12 to 13 years of age. At this stage, our focus is on independence. All personal hygiene, homework, daily tasks, even super kind of specific activities like changing light bulbs or taking out clearing out the vacuum cleaner, wiping down mirrors. It's not just completing these tasks, but actually going that next step into completing them thoroughly and ultimately independently. We recognize that for a lot of our kiddos, these are challenging skills. And that's what we're here to help you with. We want to give you the strategies and the suggestions that can support you. But recognizing too, from a developmental perspective, these are what we hope to pinpoint. And today we're hoping to target ways that we can help get you in these more developmental skill sets to set your kiddo up for more success and to eliminate some of the burden on you as the parents or caregivers. So one of the first skills we're going to be speaking about today is vacuuming. Some of the prerequisite skills for vacuuming, things like motor planning. So Sarah mentioned a little bit earlier in terms of motor imitation. I need to be able to see someone do something in order for me to be able to complete this novel or challenging motor task. In OT, we also talk about motor planning. How do I get from step A to be in an efficient and successful manner? And in order to do that, I have to move my body or facilitate things or manipulate objects in my environment in a specific way in order to be successful. A lot of our kiddos, especially if they're on the autism spectrum, this is very challenging for them because motor planning skills allow us to be successful and independent. And if there's disruptions along the way, we got to make sure that we're targeting these skills as a prerequisite before we can really expect them to be vacuuming independently. We've got modifications, those are coming, but we wanted to target motor planning and then also talking about visual processing, looking around the environment, identifying areas that need to be vacuumed, let's say, or managing the cord or looking at how do I turn on the vacuum cleaner. These are the skills that are prerequisites required. If we have challenges in these areas, we need to target those first or in conjunction with teaching these new skills.
That's exactly right, Angela. When we look at the visual processing and motor planning, those prerequisites are going to set us up for success in our next steps. And our next steps are going to take us into recognizing the need to vacuum. Does a kiddo walk into the room and see pieces of paper on the floor or sand from their beach trip and know that signals we need to vacuum, we need to clean this stuff up? And are they able to follow the task list of doing the complete vacuuming routine? Being able to set up the vacuum as the first step, knowing where to locate that vacuum. Does mom and dad keep it in the closet? Does it stay next to the bed? Am I able to, maneuver into the closet, opening the door, moving things around to get it out? Those are all motor planning and visual processing skills to have. And then going into knowing what is appropriate to vacuum. When they get the vacuum and they are ready to clean, are they going to pick up their Legos, or are they going to know that they have to take those off of the floor first so that they can actually clean the dirt or the spills that are on the floor, and knowing what to make sure is appropriate to vacuum and not? We don't want to get all of these things stuck and ruin your wonderful vacuum. And this takes us into some specific activities and modifications that you might want to practice at home for our example of vacuuming. So when I talk about thoroughness and making sure that we're getting everything up off of the floor, there's two great ideas we came up with to support this skill. We can first take large items and put those on the floor. And when the child vacuums, they're vacuuming those large items across the floor and picking up the small pieces like sand and dirt that are in the carpet. And this kind of shows our kid what extent of the area that they have vacuumed. Have they only cleaned one section and all the blocks are pushed to the end, but on our right and left, we see more? So it gives them that visual kind of cue to know which areas or sections they've completed or not started on yet. You can also do this with more common items. If you guys use those cleaning powders, that lavender powder that you can pour onto your carpet, and use that as your visual cue. So the kids, they have identified the toys, they picked up the dolls off the floor, you pour on the powder on the carpet, and that your kiddo will know that they're done vacuuming once all of that powder has been vacuumed up. Right. So that's one great way to practice the skill of thoroughness during the vacuuming routine. We can also look at cord management. This isn't something that we just know what to do. We plug in the vacuum and then the kiddo just wants to go straight to it. They just want to get their chore done. But in that moment, they might trip over the cord, or they might not be able to manage it in the sense so their vacuum doesn't roll over it. So we specifically want to teach techniques for cord management. So teaching the child to lasso it over their arm and carry it with them. Or also knowing as a parent, if you're really focusing on the thoroughness and you don't need to address cord management yet, you can be the one to hold the cord and follow them with it. So making sure that maybe you're only addressing one target skill at a time. And once they meet the skill of mastery for thoroughness, then addressing thoroughness and cord management.
To add here to talking a little bit about rhythm and body awareness, this tends to lend itself a little bit more to some of the things that we might work on in occupational therapy. Specifically, we know a lot of our kiddos at any age and any diagnosis or lack thereof. This is a challenge for kids, knowing where your body is in space. How do I get through the house? Sometimes I might not see that there's things, as Shelby mentioned, like there's messiness on the floor. I don't really remember where is the vacuum. Mom always just grabs it for me, or dad always just finds it. So first we need to target things like awareness of your surroundings. Maybe using visuals in the environment to create boundaries, or like a vacuum zone. We're only going to vacuum the living room. We're only going to vacuum the hallway. We might need to, put some tape down or some brightly colored something on the floor to really clearly identify what's being vacuumed. We don't vacuum under mom and dad's desk, especially since we're doing so many things at home and Zoom calls and distance learning. There's cords and trash underneath the desk, maybe, or trash cans. That's not a place we're going to vacuum. We're going to avoid that. So recognizing where you are in your space and then orienting yourself in that space. And then same is true with even the rhythm of vacuuming. Some of our kiddos have challenges with keeping a consistent rhythm with their body and movement. And so things like going back and forth, side to side with the vacuum takes some rhythm, and that lends itself to that body awareness. If I don't know where I am in space, then how am I supposed to maneuver this vacuum? So there are strategies that we can take a peek at that are going to even expand on some of these skills in this next slide.
I love these pictures that we found to kind of give you guys an idea of modifications to use, because the idea of tape that Angela mentioned addresses almost all of these kind of areas that we want to promote. She talks about body awareness, that rhythm and body. You can see with the tape on the floor and the arrows showing you're going to go forward. And when you get there, you're going to go backward, and giving your kiddos an idea of direction of where to go instead of them just free for all kind of zigzagging, trying to clean up as fast as they can. This really gives them that clear definition. And the tape on this example is green, right? That's where we're starting. And then on the other side, it's red. So when we get to red, we stop, we turn around, and we follow the arrow in the next direction. And then this other image over here, we have the 3 columns of, front and back motion. And she mentioned also kind of that zone of where are we going to put all of our trash, or where is it okay, to vacuum and put all of that mess that we're cleaning up.
And then exactly that, to target maybe some of even that rhythm and a body awareness. Try music. Some music might have some real strong beat or rhythm that support that. I know a lot of the kiddos I work with tend to be motivated by music. I'm very motivated by music. So when it's cleaning day at my house, I tend to put the music on and quite loudly to maybe drown out the sound of the vacuum or other things going on in the house. I always recommend music. It sets the tone for the activity. It makes it a little bit more fun. A lot of times kiddos, they don't want to vacuum. So we're talking a lot about building the skills, but like the motivation also needs to be there. And we're going to talk a lot about that stuff too. But maybe this is an opportunity to embed some natural control or some natural reinforcement into the activity by being like, what song should we listen to while we're vacuuming? We're still vacuuming. Choose the song. So I like the idea of making the activity inherent and adding some sensory properties to the activity that might allow for the skills to be a little bit more refined. And then looking at this picture a little bit too, recognizing that different vacuums are made differently. So there's lighter vacuums, there's cordless vacuums, there's vacuums that have the motor and then the hose that detaches, there's smaller vacuums, there's all sorts of things that kind of impact your child's ability to be successful. If there's a motor challenge or impairment or weakness, considering the type of vacuum that you have available to your child, if this is a skill that's important and necessary in your home, try that out. We know vacuums are expensive, so this is not my recommendation to go out and buy the Dysons of the world because they're really light and they're cord free. But recognizing too that maybe, at the clinic, we have our clinic vacuum that all the clinicians use when we're cleaning the space. And then in treatment, I have a little dust buster vacuum that has an attachment with a handle that you use that was about $10. And that's typically what we use in our treatment sessions with kiddos. So we can eliminate the additional challenge of the heavy vacuums and the cumbersome activity.
And then our next picture over here is kind of showing a couple of things, right? It could be a visual schedule to help our child follow the steps to vacuuming. Also, what we talked about earlier is breaking tasks down into what we call a task analysis, which is this. I bet you didn't know that there are this many steps to vacuuming. There actually can be even more, right? So it's really important that we test run our skills first and kind of get all the steps in there. That way we're efficiently teaching our kiddos. And that kind of brings us into our next skill tonight, which is bathroom management. So some prerequisite skills are basic hygiene, brushing teeth, washing our face, participating in our showering routine. And then kind of those next steps are the follow-up skills to those behaviors, right? Because as we know, what happens after you brush your teeth, right? There's some toothpaste in the sink. Maybe we got some splatter on the mirror. After we wash our hands, maybe the soap has spilled out under the soap dispenser, and we need to teach our kiddos some ways to manage the bathroom better.
So a couple things to consider here, exactly like Sarah's mentioning, it's managing the space. So now our kids have the skills or working towards being more independent with the actual skill of brushing their teeth, washing their hands, washing their face, whatever that might be. It's managing the space. How do we recognize when things are messy, or in the instance of even like recognizing when things are low? Mom, I couldn't brush my teeth because there was no toothpaste. Yeah, So how do we figure that out and fix that problem? That's what we want our older clients and our older kiddos to do. Replacing items that are low. Maybe what we need to do is set, little tags or marks on soap dispensers with a marker line that signals when it's time to go refill, or recognizing when the toothpaste tube, if you have a standard toothpaste tube, when it's super flat or it's really hard to squeeze, that's when we need to go get another one. Maybe we have some at the house. Maybe we need to go shopping. Recognizing that you also need to alert your parents or your caregivers in the home. We need more of something. This is just, again, that additional step of eliminating that burden from the parents. Managing bathroom materials in the bathroom, closing the toilet seat. I need to grab soap to wash my face, or I need to get a new face cloth, or I need to get the hand towel is too wet, so I need to replace that. Knowing where these things are is as important as completing these tasks. Considering too, things like cleaning the space, using gloved towels to encourage using the flat palm. We're going to talk a little bit more about this on the next slide, but, turning the cleaning activity into something that's meaningful, maybe something that's a little bit more motivating than just like wipe the, sink when it gets messy. And then also recognizing too, that each tool has a purpose. So when we clean the mirror, we need to grab the special glove. That's what's going to help us clean. If we're concerned about exposure to chemicals, and that's a common thing right now, there's chemicals really everywhere to keep everything clean. And during these COVID times, it's really important that we're recognizing, kids being safe with using these harsher chemicals. So it might be great options to explore things that are green or more natural cleaning supplies in the home. I don't want my kid to touch cleaning supplies as the deterrent for learning these important skills. Another option might be as the parent's in charge of spraying and the child is wiping. I know in my clinic sessions, we have a lot of Clorox wipes. I do not let any of my clients touch them with their bare hands. And sometimes kiddos in my session want to help. So what I do is I take a Clorox wipe and I give them a dry paper towel. I clean the table, or I clean whatever we're working on. They grab the dry paper towel and dry the surface. Still working on the skills, but then we're eliminating the potential exposure. Last thing here, just to talk a little bit about hair care. These, at this stage, talking about grooming and hygiene. What do we do when we brush our hair? What do we do when we need to style our hair for our older girls that might be more interested in using tools and things like that? Sometimes it's hard to get kids to do these things thoroughly, or they only brush the front, but they forget all the way about the back. So helping them by first and foremost, putting them in front of a mirror, giving them that visual feedback in the space. And moreover, also supporting them in recognizing the right side of my head, the left side of my head, the back of my head, and how many times I need to brush in order for me to be fully thorough. So here's some additional kind of modification suggestions. I don't want to talk about this, but this was that super wonderful, great idea that Shelby had when it comes to the cleaning glove. So maybe we'll start with Shelby since I already prefaced that.
A great intro. These images come from the cleaning the surfaces with the chemicals and the idea of making sure that our kids are using a flat palm. Often you'll give them a paper towel or something to wipe the table with. They're going to grab it and they're going to scrub. And they're going to get just a little bit of the corner instead of the entire table. So I have two different options that you can use to modify this skill to help your kid use that flat palm so that you're using the entire surface area of their hand to get the whole table or surface. And you can use, these are gloved towels. You stick your hand right inside. It fits like a little mitten and it forces you to have all of your fingers out and you can't close it. So you put your hand in, the product's already on the surface and you can scrub from there. And that also allows your kid to not touch the chemical with their hands. These are very thick mittens, towels that you can clean with. If that's not an option that you guys can get to, another simple solution is to grab a rag that you use around the house, have your kid put their palm on it, trace their hand on the towel so that they know when they're using that towel, this is where my thumb goes, this is where my pointer finger goes, and this is where I lay each of my fingers with my flat palm in order to rub the surface and clean it off. Yeah.
And then we have some visuals for more bathroom management, right? The toilet paper one. So how much toilet paper do I need to pull to sufficiently wipe, right? We have some parents that are like, half the roll is gone. So this is a great visual to show where we stop and then we pull from the top, right? Other visual vocal cues we've used are counting 1, 2, 3, 4, rip. But this kind of gives a little bit more independence because you don't have to be right there to guide them through that. Another one right below it, you've heard us all night talk about how important visuals can be for our kiddos. So this one's just a fun one, right? Of, stop before you leave, remember to, and for this one, it's flush the toilet, but it could be really anything that you need. Put the toilet seat down or raise it up, whatever your child needs.
Sorry about that. Over here is a little bit going back to recognizing that we want to set kids up for success in their space and managing the space successfully. So if we want them to be participating in this process, let's set them up for success. Let's put the cleaning supplies right inside the drawer, the door. If we can, use a command strip, hook it on there, you're good to go. If they need to grab extras of things, maybe having a special space underneath the bathroom cabinet might be another solution for an easy retrieval. Sometimes eliminating those extra steps make kids more successful. So setting them up for success if and where possible. Another fun tool that we found was just kind of this squeegee that looks like a windshield wiper that sticks to the mirror. There is now no excuse to have a dirty mirror if we have the squeegee readily available. So, these are simple, modifications to the space. Certainly, I don't recommend if you don't want to go out and purchase these things, there's other ways to keep things more readily available. But this is another way to modify tasks to eliminate those additional steps that maybe require so much prompting on the parent's part to cue. These are ways that we can maybe eliminate that.
And that brings us to our third ADL that we're going to talk about tonight. So the kitchen. So prerequisite skills in the kitchen are like putting dishes in the sink, throwing away trash. We need some visual perception and matching to sample, right? So we need to be able to nest our bowls and put them in the cabinet so that we're not taking up the whole space in there, or put our cups and stack them together and put them away. We need to be able to match our silverware into the right space when we're putting our silverware away. So when we have those prerequisite skills, then our next steps can be loading or unloading the dishwasher or drying pots and pans, right? So some parents, some of the concern is I don't want them to use the dishware that we have in case they break it, right? But we can break it down again and have maybe the child be responsible for all the kid dishes. So maybe they can wash their cups and plates and put them in the dishwasher, or take them out of the dishwasher and load them. Another one we can do is if it's too high to put into the cabinet, we can have the kiddo unload the dishwasher and just put it on the counter for you. And then now 50% of your chore is already done for you. We can also help put away groceries or get a little bit more independent with our meal preparation. So maybe you put together the Tupperware, but they can grab maybe the fruit snacks and drink and put it in their lunchbox and get that ready for you guys at night. And then kind of like we just talked about for the dishes, we want to start by having them wash maybe only their plates and cups, or just help with the drying procedures. And then loading and unloading the dishwasher is a good place to start. And then we can also label our cabinets, right? We can put pictures up to indicate which cabinet holds the cups and bowls, which one holds anything else that they're putting away.
And then we can look to taking out the trash. So our kids know to follow directions. Okay, put your bowl in the sink, throw out your trash. Now we're going to move into taking out the trash. So we can start, we like to start small, making sure our kids are successful before we add additional kind of harder, complex skills. So we might start with just the small bathroom trash. And the expectation is just to go get the bathroom trash, and bring it into the living room on trash day, and dad will do the rest, or older sister will do the rest. And then we can move from just bringing the trash into the room into you taking the trash and putting it outside in the big bin. We might take it a step further. You get the bathroom trash, you bring it into the living room, you put it into the big trash, and on trash day, you're taking it out and bringing it back in. So we start with those small steps and build our independence from there, making it more and more difficult until we get to that point where we know that they can do it on their own. Another way we can address taking out the trash is helping them sort trash versus recycling. Maybe you guys compost some of your fruits or vegetables. So teaching them how to sort what goes in the black bin, what goes in the blue bin, or what goes in the green bin on certain days, and on which days, which trash can goes out. Because I know for me, my blue trash only goes every other week. So I have to be on top of that schedule and initiating that skill and knowing what day to bring out which ones.
When we're talking a little bit about simple meal preparation, simple being the operative word, really recognizing how we can break down meal prep into manageable and successful tasks. This is not suggesting turning on the stove, using the oven, grabbing a sharp knife from the knife board. Nope, we wouldn't start there. Certainly we know, and these are very serious and very real deterrents for why we wouldn't be encouraging as much participation in the kitchen. As we know, there's a lot of simple tasks that we do in terms of preparing the meal. So Sarah suggested having everything set up, and then their responsibility is taking out the juice box, the fruit snacks, the applesauce, whatever it is that's going to be in their lunch, and putting it in their lunch and preparing for that way. Gathering items and their favorite foods. If we're going to make pasta, if you love mac and cheese, you're going to open up the box. If you use the box mac and cheese, you're going to open up the box. You're going to maybe fill the pot with water. You're going to dump it in. And then the hot, heavy stuff might be, more appropriate for someone else in the home. Opening and closing containers. As an occupational therapist, I love opportunities to embed fine motor practice in almost every activity we do. So this is a great opportunity to open a Ziploc bag, break open the cardboard box if it's something that's already pre-prepared, opening up the Tupperware containers, figuring out with your thumb how to lift and open something. And, really using that safer equipment in the kitchen. We're going to stir this fruit salad with a big spoon. We're going to pour on the salad dressing into a bowl. Those are the safe equipment options. We want to embed these opportunities if and whenever possible, so that we recognize that we're teaching these skills and not maybe avoiding them when possible.
And then, so these are some of the pictures just illustrating some things we reviewed, right? So this one of the silverware, most of the time we don't have silverware still in those, so we're matching to the sample. But this is another fun way if we're going to break down that task further, and maybe it is empty, and we can put in these visuals to have our kiddo practice sorting the silverware. And then the little girl, it's showing how she's just loading or unloading the dishwasher of only the kid items, so less breakable and much more safe.
We also have the trash images here on the bottom, and it shows you these different ways that we are going to cue our kids into doing it independently. So we have these different color-coded boxes to sort between bottles, paper, cans, and then we also have the little boy using large versus small. So we can use visuals such as big and little to delineate which trash goes in which can, and it allows them to do these skills on their own because they can read or they can memorize what color they're putting which item in. And that's kind of our goal, is to make sure that we're supporting them in a way to do all of these skills by themselves.
Lastly, over here is a couple additional meal preparation visuals to consider, some other things that kind of support some independence. We have here, if you're tasking your child with setting the table, having a placemat available and demonstrating this is where, if we're really going for it, if we're really setting the table successfully, fork, plate, cup, knife, spoon. Those cues give them an opportunity to be responsible for their space and not rely on just, relying on mom or dad or whoever it is at home cueing them for this, or, really putting the ownership on them to allow them to be successful. Some additional modifications when it comes to, we talked a lot about some of the unsafe equipment that's in the kitchen. Knives is a big one. A lot of the meals that we might be making in the home require sharp instruments that we don't necessarily feel that our children at certain times in their development or certain skills can use these things. There's a lot of different modifications that are out there on the market, Amazon, Bed Bath & Beyond, or any of those other home stores. This one in particular, I personally love. It's called an alligator. It has a fun lid that opens and closes like an alligator. These different kind of teeth or sets in here, they are sharp, but they're not, it's harder to touch them. You would put the item in the middle, close the lid, and that dices the object that you're working with or cuts it. There's different interchangeable lids that blades that you can use. And so that allows your child to do part of the mealtime process. It also gets them involved and recognizing safety considerations, but in a very manageable way. We're not going to start with the butcher knives and things like that. This is one way to do that. And there's a lot of other things out there, even using like kitchen shears to cut things instead of knives. I keep muting. I apologize. So our next ADL task is related to tasks we would do in the bedroom. Things like making your bed, putting away laundry, cleaning your room. So some prerequisite skills required in this instance would be sorting and visual skills, recognizing where items go and where they don't go, and how we can coordinate them in a way that's successful and manageable. Motor planning again. How do I get from one step to another? If I'm going to make the bed, how am I going to do this if my sheets and my blankets and my pillows are all on the floor? So, understanding that my body needs to do certain movements to get things going. If I need to replace the sheets, no one likes to do that. How do I get myself set up in a situation where I can replace the sheets and know where the head and the foot of the bed are, or, other things that are required. So we're going to talk a little bit more in the next few slides about some ways, some next steps for these really important skills in the home.
One of our next steps that we might take in our bedroom is the activity of making our bed. So some of the modifications that we discussed as a team that we thought would be a good idea for your family to try is to start off with larger items. Don't expect your child to come out with that fitted sheet and be able to put that on by themselves, or to take the top sheet and be able to cover the entire bed with a super smooth surface. You might start out by having them do the larger comforter because that's easier to pull and put over the bed. Or just the pillows, putting those at the, knowing to put those at the head of the bed, not all in one corner, not some at the top and some at the bottom, and really using our motor planning and visual skills to put those in an organized manner at the top, and giving them that opportunity to be successful with those skills before you address some of those more fine motor or complex skills that might go into making your bed.
And then we have folding and putting away our clothes. So some modifications we can do are putting icons on the drawers, and we'll kind of show you some visuals on the next slide here, but we can put some icons on and that can show our child which clothing item goes in what drawer. We can also choose which items to fold versus hang, right? So it's a little bit easier to start teaching folding pants. So maybe we're folding our pants and we're hanging our shirts. So we can pick things to do that way. Another thing to consider is that we all fold things differently. So really thinking about your child, right? So maybe you fold your clothes in a certain manner, but as you're practicing with your child, they're not able to do it in that nice, neat fold that you have, and really adapting the skill to them and teaching them in a way that they can be independent with it.
Especially when we're talking about a lot of these activities that kids need to do, this is where we really focus on the thoroughness of tasks. These are not as motivating for children, but still as important. So things like Mom, I can't find my sock, or Dad, I don't know where my jacket is. Opening the clothes drawer and finding them. But if we open them up and the clothes are just like taken out or on the floor, or they're not where they're supposed to be, that's something that we want these kiddos to start doing on their own and problem solving. So we need to locate the items in the space. We put them there. That's where they're going to be. So you got to go find them. For pillows on the bed, if we're making the bed, are the pillows and pillowcases? I got the pillow there, no pillowcase. So close. So these are the thoroughness. These are the so close skills that we really want kiddos to recognize. Where are shoes kept? In some homes, they're kind of kept in different places. I have a place where I might drop my shoes when I come home. That's by the door, but I keep my shoes in my closet. So recognizing too that kiddos who can get their shoes on now also need to be responsible for where they kept. It is not expected at these ages for parents to go grab them and put them on. We know that these skills, especially when it comes to getting dressed and putting clothes away, take a lot longer. So we're not suggesting that these are things that are expected right off the bat. They're going to be doing these things and that's going to be really, really fast. We know lives are busy, but in certain instances where we can embed activities and practicing these skills, that's when we want to do them. And dressing is a great opportunity to really practice thoroughness. And we have on the next slide, we have a couple other suggestions for this stuff.
So we have our visuals for folding, right? This is another way we can break down the task and teach our kiddos the skill in smaller pieces. So it's kind of difficult to see, but you can look up different visuals to use for sorting. And then in this bottom corner, we have labels on those drawers that we talked about earlier. So now he can see where the shirt and the shoes and the socks go.
A couple other things to consider too. Sarah described folding. A lot of our kiddos don't like to fold. I know it's hard for me, but it's a really important skill that we all do need to learn if we are going to be more independent with clothing management. But folding can be hard from a motor perspective, from a sequencing perspective, from a visual perspective. Where's the left side? Where's the right side? Is the shirt inside out? Is this the top of the shirt? Is this the bottom of the pants? So we might use in OT and certainly it sounds like in ABA too, things like a folding board. This one in particular was made with an old cardboard box and some tape. It really shows the different steps. So we're going to put the shirt, we have to know where the top and the bottom of the shirt, once they're flat, we fold the right side, we fold the left side, we lift the bottom up, we fold the top down, and there you have a perfectly square shirt. This eliminates some of the challenges for kids that might have motor or visual perceptual or sequencing issues and allows them something more tangible to maybe break this task down and create more success. Sarah also mentioned things like knowing which shirts to hang or what clothes to hang and which to fold. This fantastically organized closet that she's very proud of, and I am proud of her too, doesn't require a lot of hanging, but certainly requires a lot of seeing everything, folding it, putting it in its space, giving each item a place to go. That's going to be really helpful for our kiddos that are already pretty avoidant of these tasks or already having some pretty big challenges with it. Lastly, when we're talking a little bit about making the bed and things like that, this is again a visual referring to the importance of thoroughness. So I might need to lift the blanket up and then bring it back down quickly to flatten it out, recognizing where the top and the bottom of my bed are, if my pillows have pillowcases on them, and things like that. There's simple strategies that sometimes make these very daunting tasks feel much more manageable. So to wrap up a bit, when we're talking about adapting to the task, it's going to be really important for us to consider things like modifications. We need to accommodate and adapt and account for potential delays that your child may be experiencing. We want you guys to leave here feeling empowered that making subtle adjustments and modifying tasks very slightly or breaking tasks down into much more manageable ways are going to allow your child to be more independent. And these are the steps to get them there. We want to hopefully empower you to eliminate avoiding tasks because they are too challenging. So modifications is a really seemingly easy way for us to help break things down. And that's why, working with your occupational therapist or your BCBAs and supervisors, recognizing the modifications that might be a little bit of an adjustment to fix what seems pretty daunting is a really great thing to try. And I hope that's what we're showing you today.
One of my go-to for supports during these independence skills and tasks is a visual support. Talking to your child and telling them what to do verbally is very intrusive, and they can get dependent on that verbal prompt. So the best way to give them independence when you're teaching the skill is through that visual, because they're the one that's going to look at that visual TA or, that picture that tells them how to organize their bathroom cabinet so that they can initiate that skill on their own. Visuals really go a long way in those task analyses that Sarah and Angela mentioned, breaking down those complex skills so that you can fade away yourself and let the child do it on their own. And if you really want to get into it, I love a good video model. I will record myself doing an activity or a specific task and then show the kiddo that I'm working with the skill so they can see it in its entirety from start to finish and what really needs to get done. Or if I don't want to do it, maybe I have mom do it. I might videotape mom washing the dishes so that she can show her child in their own environment what that skill is going to look like. And then hopefully one day, maybe they want to be in their own video model. And that's really empowering to our kids when they can see themselves completing the skill and then imitating it afterward and doing it on their own.
And then kind of like we've all touched on a little bit without fully naming it until Angela did, right? Like this can take a long time. This can take a chunk of your day. So by no means are we suggesting that all of a sudden, like she said, we're talking about small little modifications to start with. You don't need to be vacuuming Monday through Friday now to practice it, right? Use your session times when possible, or if you're at the clinic doing OT, use that time to work on some of those skills, and then setting aside maybe just one day on the weekend. Okay, on Sunday from this time to this time, we're doing the vacuuming, right? It's going to take me 2 hours. It might not be as thorough as I want, but I really can see, hopefully what we've shown you tonight is that this is so important and going to help keep your kid independent as they get older and get farther into their future. And then that we can kind of show on this next one. These are just kind of a variety of chore ideas, as well as visual schedules, right? So there's that word again, visuals. You can use these to kind of put a schedule together for your kiddo. The more that we're mastering these skills, maybe we can make a chore chart. And on Thursdays when the trash needs to go out, it's on our schedule. And then on Friday, it's to bring the trash in. So you can use these in a variety of ways. You can talk to your OT or your BCBAs as to how you can use these in your sessions with your kiddo.
So as a final wrap up, we hope that we've been able to demonstrate and just express how ADL independence is vital to development. We focus on it and target it in our specialties. We know it's valuable and important, and we recognize that it's important for your child and your family. Yep, there it is. Visuals. Use visual supports when possible. It's essentially a step away from verbal cues and auditory prompting. Use visual supports when possible, and that's what we're here for. We can help set you up. That can also feel daunting, creating these visuals, and that's what we work to support you too. And then modify the task into small successes. That allows for greater successes if we have smaller successes that build onto more success. So making things a little bit more manageable. And then ultimately to kind of, circle back to what we said at the beginning, it's important for us to prioritize what's important and meaningful. This also helps make tasks more manageable. It's vital for occupational therapists and for BCBAs to check in with you guys and what's important in your family and what's meaningful. That's where we're going to start. And that's how we can also determine what's fully manageable. We recognize that some of our kiddos may have deficits in a lot of different areas of development. And this is one of the primary ways we can determine where's a great place to start and what we can really hone in and focus on.
That was exciting and informative. And thank you, Sarah and Angela. Thank you, everyone who joined us tonight to learn about this topic, all these tools for independence. It was really important for your child's future. Really think about where you want your kid to be in the next 3 to 5 years, where they're going to be when they're in their adulthood, and what you want for them to live a happy and meaningful life. And that starts in the home with the people who care about them, getting them to be independent and introducing these skills to them. So be sure to follow us on our webinar parent series for more topics to learn about. As always, on our Facebook and Instagram for tips and tricks. You will see our faces again on the Instagram. We love sharing our ideas with you. And hopefully we'll check the chat box and see if you guys had any questions that we can answer.